question, the member from Hamilton East Stony Creek.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Pan Am Parapan Games. Speaker, we know that despite the government's mantra that everything is on budget on time, that many of the construction projects for the Pan Para Games are behind schedule. How far behind? Well, that information is going to cost you. Speaker, I suppose when you're the government and you stage the most expensive multi-sports game in Canadian history and the costs keep going up, we shouldn't be surprised when they demand over $4,000 from Canada's most widely read newspaper to release documents about just how far behind they really are on these venues. Speaker, will this government dispense with the outrageous fee requests and tell Ontarians the real status of the 10 new sports facilities under construction, information asked for by the Toronto Star, and any delays that are involved?
Thank you. The Minister of Tourism, Culture, Sport, and responsible for the Pan Am Parapan Games.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to thank the member for the important question today. These are the most open and transparent games in the history of this country. And in fact, if you look at multi-sporting games internationally, these are the most open and transparent games that have ever come forward. And we know that 2015 is working with the requester to refine the scope of the FOI to reduce the cost. But I think it's important to understand, Mr. Speaker, that this process is an independent process. It's impartial, and it's conducted by the public service. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, it's consistent with all other provinces, and it's the same process that was in place when the Conservatives were in power, and it's the same process that's been in place when the NDP was in power. Thank you.
Wow. Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the government has not released this information to the members of this House and not to the Toronto Star and to all Ontarians without a price. Game organizers in this electronic era say they cannot provide the requested information on a disc, something routinely done by other ministries and agencies at all levels of this government. These games organizations ultimately report to the minister and his ministry on how to provide electronic information. So, Speaker, will this minister and the government either require Pan Parapan Games organizers to release the information right now or have the ministry obtain them immediately to release the requested information to the Ontario public?
Thank you. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, these games are the most open and transparent games ever brought forward in the history of this province, in the history of this country. And we made sure that TO 2015 was brought under the FOI legislation, and it's the first time that any of the games have been brought under this legislation. The TO 2015 is fully complied with the FOI regulations, and again, it's consistent with all other jurisdictions across this country. There's 6,000 pages that have been requested. We're working, TO 2015 is working with the requester to ensure that information can be brought forward that is cost-effective, and they'll continue to work with them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.